your inside look at what it takes to animate some of these sprites for our top-down adventure, #Blood. Welcome back. Good to see some of you are joining us again, and thanks to all the new subscribers too. It's complete word of mouth. Hey! Oh wow, we already. Oh, Joe Whimsy. Man, you're quickly becoming our favorite subscriber. So thanks so much for joining us. And he shares all our stuff, and you guys feel free to share all your stuff too on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Like I said, it's all word of mouth, all our stuff. So, and it's good to see all these people kind of enjoying Blood. So thanks for joining us all. I'm gonna recap what we did last week. Just to since I kind of leave things half finished, just that's just the way I roll. I'm going to show you what we finished, and then we're going to get to the Snowman, which you all voted on. So I'm excited about that. That's a fun little character. Oh, it won hands down. It wasn't even a contest. I should have just started with the Snowman. So let's see. Where we left off last week was Christoph the janitor. And I'm going to just play the animation now, just so you get a sense of where we finished, and I'll show you what we did. So you can see here, we got two different sprite animations, and they're kind of, you could split them up into a bunch of them if you need to. So you see the one on the left, he's kind of speculating, doing the mob, kind of standing around. And as in all our idle animations for these characters, we want to have them loop and not just go up and down river hose style, but do a little something too to kind of reveal their character. So let me go inside that one, since that one wasn't finished.
Joe Whimsy's a girl, so we've messed that up.
I'm sorry, Joe Whimsy. Oh, my bad. Yeah, Joe without an E. I should have got it. Actually, all right, no worries. Good. Well, you're still our favorite. We don't discriminate in any sense that way. So, but thank you so much for enjoying our stuff, and thanks for sharing all this stuff. I just saw you shared a bunch of stuff on Facebook, and like I said, we're just a small company, so word of mouth is sort of our bread and butter, so we really appreciate that. And maybe we'll send something to Joe, maybe a little personalized drawing when we get some time. So I believe this one was finished last time we spoke, but it's again sort of the same idle animation where it's an ease in, ease out to the extremes and back and forth, followed by a little bit of secondary. You can see some in the hair, some in the mop, all that good stuff. The rest of the stuff's new, so I'll walk into this. Oh, anytime. We're happy to do it. It gives us an excuse to work on it too during work hours, so that's something we don't really get to do too often. So right here, he kind of looks around, and we could, what I set up this one to do, we could bring this into a symbol as well and repeat it if we need. Like it goes back and forth, and you could just repeat that as long as you can. So if Cody, the future man, you'll see him on that one. No, I'm gonna get you something. We'll actually draw it on paper too. So that's something I don't do often, but we'd be happy to do it. I'll reach out to you on Facebook and get your address and all that stuff, and we'll send you something this weekend. So like I was saying, you could repeat this one back and forth. So if Cody were to make this a sprite and we wanted him to stay on this longer, or we just want to save some memory, we'll break it down like that. And I try to do all the symbols like that. So that, and then we go into this sprite, which is just him mopping, and it's the same exact thing, ease in, ease out. And the reason for all the layers is because I wanted to really play with the face and stuff, with the hair. You see there, the secondary. And kind of, I don't like repeating frames, and it's just one of those things that kind of makes it feel more natural and more hand-drawn if you don't repeat frames, if we were just a scale back. So that's why there's all the secondary and stuff. But there's ways to speed that up. Oh, I love your studio. No, well, thank you. Well, it's only two of us, but I appreciate that. Yeah, we've been in business now for 6 years, though Bob and I have been in animation for I guess going on 18 now for me, and 15, 16 for Bob. After the 10-year mark, I don't think it really matters. Everyone sort of has the same feelings about the industry around the 10-year mark, I've noticed. And then, as you can see, he repeats. So all the keyframes up here, that's sort of the in-betweens to get to the cycles. And those you really can't repeat. And this is just an ease in, ease out. And for those just joining us, the chart on top here are just the beats, like the 1 second beat and the half-second beat. And most music kind of lands on a certain beat, so you kind of want to time your stuff out, if you're going to do it classically, to the 1 second and just derivatives of that. So that's Christoph on that scene. Now the fun part is when you trigger an action, Christoph runs off. So this is really just a one kind of note antic. And remember last week when I said I was going to stagger it, I didn't want to bore you guys with just boring in between because everyone knows how to do that. How many seconds for the janitor? Well, he's kind of a side character right now, so we're just kind of doing two things, but he's revealed later to be a kind of integral part of the story. So we got 7 seconds for this idle, and this one cuts off around the 3.5 second mark. So really only 10 seconds of animation for the janitor. And anyone familiar with animation, 10 seconds can be done in a day, or it can take a year. There's no real metric to kind of time this stuff. So last week I kind of parceled this out so it was on 4s and 2s. Since this mop kind of spinning things on 1s, I wanted to keep everything on 1s, and I told you I would stagger the animation once it was finished, and that's what you can see here. You can see sort of the hand pulsating, the shirt kind of falling, pulsating as well as the mouth and the scream. And I actually wasn't a fan. Here, I'm going to turn off the tongue layer. I just drew right on top. Like, I wasn't a fan of what his tongue was doing there when I staggered, so I did a simple match cut. You can see here, just right on top of the animation. And so it's now kind of this more indicative of yelling kind of animation, and you can see that. And it's all about those little details, I find, that get lost when you're trying to kind of speed through things. So
someone asked that for two guys, do we ever overload on work?
Yeah, no, we have to. We have overhead, which is a lot of freelancers don't have overhead if you're working from a home office or on your free time and stuff. So we kind of have to do the jobs of 4 to 5 people. I'm gonna say 4 because 5 is a little ambitious. So we'll do jobs. We have a bunch of clients. We have Bleacher Report, this big sports company that's sort of like the Instagram for sports. We have Nickelodeon, contacts at Cartoon Network and Disney. And then, we have like our internet kind of jobs where we're helping out. I don't know if you guys know the Angry Video Game Nerd, but his kind of group of people are trying to pitch something, so we're helping out with them. And those kind of little jobs here and there. So we kind of fill in big jobs and little jobs, and there's times when we have downtime and all that kind of stuff too. And then there's other jobs that we sign NDAs that we can't talk about until they're out. But not to get too into it, but we're kind of always doing 2 or 3 jobs at once. And there's a lot of nights and weekends involved when we really get cranking. We try to say no as little as possible, so if someone shows up and needs something done, we try to accommodate them. How do you get the attention of clients like that? Do you thumbnail your poses? I'm just going to answer these questions real quick. 6 views, just 2 guys, impressive. Do you have to go to? Yeah, just answer that. Do you thumbnail your poses? Absolutely. I go real rough. I try to prep these things so you don't even see some of my roughs because they're so embarrassing. But I'll show you some examples of how I would do stuff. And it's really just for me, since I'm the one animating it. I don't really I know what a circle stands for. I know what this line means. So it's not something I'm trying to impress anyone with the roughs or trying to pass this off on. If I were to send it to someone else, then I'd have to do a cleanup pass. How did you guys come up with the name of your studio? We're located on the east end of Long Island, New York, which, for those of you not familiar with the States or New York, is this island to the right of Manhattan, a little bit east. There's 73 exits on the Long Island Expressway, and Bob and I live at the very last exit, so we just kind of picked the location, and it sounded kind of catchy, so we did Exit 73 Studios. And how do you get the attention of clients? That's a good question. A lot of it's just word of mouth. A lot of people, you get your first job in animation, say, and you're working with a lot of colleagues, and if you get along with them or you're affable, they kind of follow you around, and you'll weave in and out of the industry working with a lot of the same people. So, for instance, I sat next to one of my classmates at SVA, happened to work for an advertising firm, and 15 years later, we're working together. And I just happened to be sitting next to him because him and I got along and kind of that stuff. And then he saw I had a studio, and he knows I'm New York native, and we just sort of clicked from there. And then we got the General Mills commercials, if you guys know anything about our work on our website. So it's just weird stuff like that. There's not a lot of advertising per se, other than what we post on Facebook, which we do to try to catch the eye of fans and new clients and all that stuff. So it's all really word of mouth. And I think a lot of animations like that. You don't see a lot of advertising from companies like Titmouse, but everyone knows what Titmouse is. And same goes for a lot of these bigger studios. It's just sort of what happens with it. So we all picked the Snowman. So these guys, the losers down here, we're not going to touch them. And I started setting stuff up this morning. Now, anyone who voted saw this animation, which will be how the Snowman moves across the screen when Becky attacks. So, he's always going to be stationary to the ground. When he jumps, he'll move. Then when he sticks the landing, he'll stay. So it'll be kind of a staggered movement, I picture, when the guys finally start to program him. So that's the animation. And this one's not the typical idle 1 second beat. And a lot of it's shot on ones. Now, when the characters are moving or panning across the screen, I like to shoot everything on ones because otherwise it'll strobe or stagger. So, and then the settles on twos because he's going to be stationary all of a sudden. So we'll kind of antic, jump. So he's in the air. This is when he's moving. He sticks the landing. Then he'll kind of stay in the ground. This is his idle pose, the natural pose of when you'll see him. Then he antics down. Then he jumps. So it'll be an ease in, ease out from there on. I laid out the idle animation, which you've guys seen me do the other two. You don't need to watch the boring in-betweens, but it'll just be sort of the same chart that you saw with Christoph. And I added a leaf here for secondary, right around, oh, you don't see my icon, right there to get some secondary. Anytime I have a chance to do that, it's like those, again, like those little details, they always add something that I think is missing in a lot of puppeting animation. And you can see I didn't repeat the halfway points either. Like this is the halfway frame, frame 7, and you can see the eyes do something different than on the way back. So it'll just be that little details that sort of make it feel like a purely traditional thing. Now, those of you that voted for this guy do get a little treat today, because it turns out these snowmen aren't possessed or anything, but they're inhabited by these little hatchlings, these vampire hatchlings that don't even have arms yet. They're not a full-grown vampire in the game. So this is going to be when Becky hits the snowman, what happens to the guy. And when we did it in the Shadow Vampires, do you guys ever do game projects like apps and stuff, or is it all TV movies? We're traditionally a TV movie kind of company. We don't have a lot of programming knowledge, though. The future man, who might be on this by now, he's our programmer for this, along with Andrew Tavis and Greg Lane, who writes all the stuff. So we teamed up with programmers, but most of our stuff traditionally comes from the web or television and all that kind of stuff. Though all our stuff sort of has a video game kind of feel to it, and I don't even know if that's by design. It's sort of our natural default. So that's kind of how we got associated with doing video games, is we made a short that looked like a video game and everyone kind of glommed onto that. And it's a booming industry now, so we're happy to be a part of it, especially now that we get to play with it.
Somebody asked about music too.
The music, well, that's a Bob question. What's
well, no, I just said, do we have anybody doing it yet? And we don't really know. But
for the music?
As of right now, I've been doing it.
Yeah, Bob's our default musician. He's never studied music, but he really is good at coming up. What's the program we use?
Logic.
Logic, and everything, you can hear it in the background probably right now. He created all those loops. Everything in the game, every sound effect in the game is created by Bob too. And Bob is our resident, along with animating, background design, boarding, and a whole list of things. Bob's also our tech, and if tech was up to me, well, I wouldn't be talking on Twitch right now. I'd just be talking on a corner like a crazy person. So he's really our resident tech, and Cody is our the tech that we don't pay, because he kind of aligns with Bob to help me do all this stuff. All this stuff set up is Bob. Everything in the back is set up with Bob. So what happens is Becky takes a swipe at this guy, hits him, and what's revealed is that they're kind of inhabited by these little guys. So it's not just a haunted snowman. We're kind of staying away from the supernatural, though I guess vampires are supernatural, but not like ghosts and goblins and everything. Everything is going to be vampiric or something that delves into vampire lore. So, I know those who play the game have rats and stuff. We're kind of associating everything as sort of getting this vampiric virus and turning crazy. So we can have, say, a dog turn into a vampire, kind of like I Am Legend and all that stuff. So she hits the snowman, and now we have this vulnerable kind of hatchling, we've been calling it, which is just a young vampire that hasn't blossomed yet. And then you'll have to attack this guy before he passes away. Now, I didn't do the death animation yet, and I'm just sort of laying out the head right now. So we learned earlier that the eyes are vulnerable for all these guys, and I might actually change the color of his eye to make yellow always the thing you want to attack in this game, just to kind of link the player to knowing that yellow is this vulnerable thing. So then we would throw a pencil at this guy, he'd get hit in the eye, he'd pass away. Now, if you don't do that, he has to return to his natural state, turn back into a snowman. So that's the timing we're kind of laying out. And I just roughly lay out the timing, and the beauty of Flash is that you can move the frames at any time. Actually, that's traditional animation too, I guess. So we got a hit, land, vulnerable, then he antics up, goes in, and then I just copied the animation from the move. So, you know, I always say try to work smart, not try to keep everything sort of simple. Like, I don't need to redo this. I don't think at 25% anyone would notice, but it's just the repeat animation from the move. So, I'm going to show you guys one of the hits we did for the shadow vampires. These are some of my favorite things, so I always reference them. So you see it's kind of in similar fashion, where if you hit this guy, an eye's revealed, and then he turns into his natural state. So I'll make this part a symbol too when I get to it, and depending on how long we want him vulnerable, we can adjust that. And you'll see I kind of change them colors. and stagger, and then he turns vulnerable. So I'm going to do the same thing with this guy right now. So we know, you want to kind of, you want to treat everything like the player, like you're taking it from the perspective of the player. Now, if I didn't like stagger the colors or anything, we wouldn't know if he's hit really. So we're gonna kind of do the same color pattern throughout every time something gets hit. We want to keep it kind of in that same spectrum. So frame 7, this is going to be 7 drawings that we're going to in between. It's going to be a standard in between, ease out, and then I'll stagger them, then I'll change the color. I think that's a smart animated move. Yes, no, it gets a lot of mileage. Joe Whimsy said that I think it's a smart way to animate. When you do loops, then all of a sudden you get so much mileage out of it. It's not just straight ahead animation. Though in the middle of this, I'm going to show you guys what we're going to do next week, which is a cutaway. And that, there's no loops there. And boy, does that take time. So this is going to be the last frame. When you hit, she swipes or punches so fast that you want to do almost an extreme and then settle to your last pose. So I'll always start with a pose that I favorite. Now, I spent more time on, say, that pose than I'm going to do this one. So you have to kind of understand what's happening. She's always hitting up sort of thing with this thing. Now she can swipe down, but we don't really get into that right now. So she's going to shoot up. That's our force of action. So we're going to want his head to get bigger. So this is just the rough. His eye's going to shoot up here. His mouth going to do a really wide thing. Tongue up. Now when you turn your head back, your ears go down. Just a perspective thing. I can move that up even, get hit real hard. And his legs are going to shoot up, and I'm going to really extend the legs to be even bigger. So this is not a very subtle move, in other words. But again, at 25%, kind of want to get the most out of it. So you'll see it at 25%. So that's what we're going to stagger here. So let me clean this up. Those who saw the first 2 weeks know I go into for the sprites. I'll show you what I do traditionally later. Go into 400%. You can see right there, 400. Brush, the second to last brush. Pressure sensitivity on. And we're just going to clean up. Now I like using a thick brush because it's just, you get a lot more control out of it. Or it's a weird way to think, but there's less room for mistakes. Like you hit the center of the line easier almost. It's just a bigger target. So we're going to clean this guy up. Sometimes when I do the shadow under the head, I'll do a color close to black, not pure black. Just because those who've worked in Flash, and if you color something in like that, and say you messed up the shadow, then if you selected it, it selects the whole thing. So you could go to pure black and just change it to 1. So you'll never notice it at the naked eye, but if you... Did that do the whole thing? No, because it selected the whole thing. Okay, let me just hit enter.
TNT Studios wants to know how many White Claws you've had.
Oh, am I slurring? I've only had 2. By the end of the 2 hours, though, I try to get 3 in. And anyone who works for White Claw, hit me up. We might strike a deal here. You can get upwards of 300 views, and and I get free White Claw. So you can see by the naked eye, there's nothing wrong with the shadow. You can't see it, but if I select it, I can change the color then, and it won't be so hard, and I don't have to manipulate the line work. So that's a little tip for that. Yeah, love those White Claws. Even animated White Claws in the victory stands for the Snowman. today when we did our little Twitter post. Trying to get their attention. I would go for Bud Light or someone bigger, but you know, they're busy.
Start small.
Start small, build big. And White Claw is sort of like, it's like, you know, for day drinking, White Claw. So when I show up home, no one knows. Okay. So we're gonna, luckily my wife doesn't watch any of this. So now I'm gonna just start in betweening these things to get it down to the right size. Now, when you work this small, I could, you know, and it takes a little bit of experience, but you could start doing the settles. You don't need too many roughs going on. Unless you're trying to pass it off to a client and they need to see roughs. You don't, you know, it's a thing that sort of, when you're on this tight schedule that we always are, kind of muddies up the things. So we just do our roughs thusly. I change the color to clean up, so there's no confusion. And then we're off to the races cleaning this guy up. I want to be associated with White Claws. I like that. And then clean up the mouth. Ooh. Teeth. Back of the throat. Eye. Ears. And you can see how quick you can go with these thicker brushes. I don't, for some reason, and it's probably purely psychological for me. When it's a thin brush, I feel like when I'm drawing, I press harder almost, like I want to get it thicker, and then I get fatigue in my hand. I remember when I used to work on this Adult Swim show called Super Jail. I was one of the lead animators and one of the writers for season 1 on it. And we used brush 3, Flash MX. Everything was Flash MX back then. And I would find myself, like, here, I'm going to just do it. I would find myself really pressing a lot harder. And it was such a labor-intensive show. Anyone who's familiar with the show, well, it's one of my favorite projects I've ever worked on. It was so cool working on something for Adult Swim. But there's a lot of work that gone in. Not a lot of repeat. There's a lot of attention to detail. A lot of the characters' hair were hatch marks. So there was a lot of scribbling going on. And by the end of the week, I mean, my forearms must have been twice the size of what they are now, just by pressing so hard and doing so many in-betweens. Fun show, though. I've always missed working on that show. So, but anyway, yeah, the thicker brush, it just, I don't know if it's like drawing like with a kind of a thick marker, but I just find it a lot easier on the hands even. And when you work this small, you can get away with that. So you see, I didn't even in between that one. As long as the line lines up. Now, I'm not doing a pure ease out, which means if I did a pure ease out, I would do frame 4 being the next in between. I'm going to jump to frame 5, and this is 1, 7. So it's still an ease out because I would just, if I was shooting on 2s almost, it would be a pure ease out. But since I find when you're shooting on 1s, if you do that, by the end, it looks like you did nothing except shimmer or trace back the last drawing. So this is sort of for timing purposes shot on 2s, but we're in betweening on it on 1s, if that makes any sense, which verbally it doesn't, but tongue goes down, teeth, where's the eye? The eye is about there. Now, the reason I'm doing this one in layers is for a few reasons. We could use, reason one is since these hatchlings are going to be running around outside of Snowman 2, we could just use this hit now for other sprites. And two, we soften the Snowman's color by making it look more like snow by not using a pure black line for it. So we did this darker blue, which, it gives the appearance of a little more softer kind of things for the Snowman. Take another sip. Half an hour already passed. It's nuts, right?
When should we get down here?
Oh, I'm working on my third drawing, so we're okay. Now, I always think I could do so much more in these, and I try to expedite it, but that's the nature of animation. It's a marathon. And the funny part is this is only a few seconds in another word, and we're trying to make a 7-hour game. So, we have a lot left. And we're doing this on the side, too, so. Let's see.
It's going to be a lot of vampire hatchlings.
There's going to be a lot of loops and reuse. Is everyone okay if it just takes place in one background? Bob's working on Becky's house right now, and it's really cool. I'm excited to show you guys some of the background stuff one of these times, because we're doing it all in Flash. He's doing the texture with vector and masking and all these tricks you kind of learn in Flash. And it's really looking retro. It's so cool. And even the house itself is like, I didn't get that one. I didn't get the back of the mouth. Even the house he's doing is sort of like this 1950s kind of throwback. It's really, it's what Becky's dad would be into, which is kind of stuck in these 50s, maybe 70s kind of look. And it's really, you get a sense of what the dad's into right away. All right. Last drawing here, that wasn't so bad. Get the tongue down. Now we should open up one of those files and show. We'll show you the background soon. Let me finish some of this stuff up. Get a taste of just the attention to detail Bob's putting into these things is really cool. And we're trying to make as much of the background stuff interactive as we can. You can knock over a garbage can. You can play with the beakers in the science lab. You can lift the what are those things called in school? When you project the projection screen, you can do all that kind of stuff, and it really makes the game feel a lot more expansive than just sort of a typical run around kind of thing. Okay, so I'm not going to color this yet for a few reasons, and we need to grab the Shadow Vampire hit, at least the first few frames.
Do we ever watch Indie Game, the movie? A lot.
I've watched it, oh gosh, how many times have I watched that?
A lot.
I watched it before we were making a game, because I just found, I found it inspiring. It spoke to me on a few levels, and it's because when you run a small studio, which is just two guys, I really felt the struggle of these guys a lot, and being under the crunch and the time provisions and all that stuff. So it spoke to me on that level. I love video games, that level. And just there's something about animation or anything creative when you're starting with an idea in your head and you're building towards something that's all of a sudden there. There's something that always speaks to me about that, and I think it encompasses all art, not just animation. But it was just nice to showcase the struggle that goes into these things and what could happen. Phil Fish gets a bad rap for having a bad attitude, and it's just like, just one little slip up and years of work can go out the window and all that stuff. So it's just this fascinating kind of Olympics you put yourself through, and then to put yourself out. And I think video games have, their critics are really hard on people too. If people don't like the game, everyone knows it. So it's a fascinating kind of topic.
We find ourselves agreeing with Phil Fish.
When I first saw it, I was like, this Phil Fish guy, what's up with him? I'm just staggering right now while I wax poetic. So that just means I'm swapping out these keyframes. So now it's a kind of like that. Then I found myself, it's like, oh, I kind of get this. I kind of get why he's acting like this. When at first I was like, what's this guy's problem? He's doing exactly what he wants to do. He's making cool stuff. I'm just picking the color of that. That's a normal color. Purple. No, I found myself agree. I think as you get older, you start agreeing with the curmudgeons in your life a little bit more. And he was a good curmudgeon. Plus, you made one hell of a game. I mean, gosh, and to do it by yourself, or not even just the small team factor is crazy. I read all that stuff on Red Dead Redemption 2, and thousands of people, 100-hour work weeks, and then you get the opposite side of that where it's just two guys working on something. It's pretty incredible. All right, so
how many people are working on Blood?
We got 5 people. We have 2 artists, which is Bob and myself. Bob's doing primarily the backgrounds, though he jumps on character animation when I'm in a bind. I'm doing the character animation and the design. And then we got Andrew Tavis, who's doing the programming, along with Cody Greenhouse. He might even be on here, the future man. And then Greg Lane is our writer. And anyone who's played the game, all the dialogue was written by him, all that stuff. And he did such a good job. It's such this cute, just really bubbly thing that we're working on here, which is funny because it's such a dark subject. I mean, it's a murder mystery in a town sieged by vampires. Then we got, this kind of cutesy style with the bubbly dialogue. It really works well, I think. What engine do you guys use for Blood? And that's Unity, right? Oh, yeah. No, the Future Man's here. Here. Future Man, you didn't say when Chris was getting 2 drinks when I get jump into philosophy. I'm gonna take 2 drinks. That's the stuff. White Claw. All right. So we got the hit here. So when you swipe, you'll know exactly what happens here. And I'm gonna follow. So I'm going to grab the keyframes here because I like to keep everything on the same chart. And all you animation people will understand what a chart is. So this is whatever else happens, the animation has to follow this. And I'll probably extend that so he falls a little slower. Now what's nice about this being in a symbol now, I could shoot him up if I need to, if we really want to extend it. Like he jumps up, settle down. I always ease out at 67 down here. I think I'm just lazy, and 6 and 7 are right next to each other. So that's kind of what I do there. And then I stagger that down too. So it's a double thing. And then you have to synchronize the symbol. Otherwise it's not staggered all of a sudden. So, bam, this guy gets hit. Watch it down. Great. Cool. So we got the guy getting hit. Then he's going to fall. So now what I'll do is I'm going to turn off the debris layer right now. That kind of just dissipates and doesn't show up. So I'm going to do the exact same thing for these hits now. I'll turn off that. So we're going to work on the bottom of the snowman here. Now he gets shot out, so it's going to do the exact same thing where we're going to settle. And I don't know, maybe I'll change the color of the snowman too while we're doing this. We'll see how that looks. A lot of this is just experimenting.
Well, we should experiment on white too with the background.
Yeah, since we're kind of playing with seasons, or there's talk of it anyway. Well, we better now that I animated a snowman. What makes sense if we're just floating around in the school? Is there maybe there'll be like a meat locker where this guy hangs out.
A snowman in somebody's locker.
A snowman in Becky's bedroom. How did he get here? What was I saying? Oh yeah, so we're playing with the seasons, and there's this gorgeous Samurai Jack episode when he's being chased by.
No, it was.
Or was that's not the assassin one.
It was the one where he had to use his senses other than seeing.
Oh yeah, he was temporarily blinded, or he was snow blind. So he kind of like Daredevil. Kind of like Daredevil. So he had to kind of use his other senses. So it was just this gorgeous on white. It was all on white, and what was happening? There was like blood and stuff. Was that the blood part, or
no? That was he was trying to. They were shooting from a tower. He was trying to get to a tower, and he couldn't get up it because they could hear him. So he had to learn to use his other senses and sight.
So we're gonna try to do that. Not so much without sight, but it's gonna be in the snow, and you're gonna have to track something. So it's gonna almost be pure white, other than the extraneous background elements, and you're gonna have to kind of feel yourself around. Because we want this to be a multi-layered kind of game where it's not just hack and slash or beat 'em up, but there's some other fun elements that you get into with the game. So we could easily fall into just beating up characters and stuff, but we kind of want to make it more rich, sort of like the style itself is a rich thing. That's downtown Riverhead, everyone, if you hear all that commotion outside.
Tips on learning Animate CC. I am used to working on TV Paint for frame-by-frame animation, and when I try to animate it, it feels super clunky, and the whole system confused me.
I agree.
Well,
I agree with you.
The symbols system, I think, is like that's something we're so used to that I don't know how to work without it.
I'm a little jaded towards Animate CC because they kind of altered it from MX. Now, please take this with a grain of salt because I grew up on MX. Like a lot of you guys are learning Animate CC, and I'm sure in 15 years when they change Animate CC, you guys will be saying sort of the similar things. So they altered Animate CC so much for me that we only really use it when clients need us to, which usually indicates when we have to pass it off or it's just an existing file that they use. But I will say this about Animate CC. It's not too far derived where it's broken for us. Like you could use symbols, you could use the puppeting function. It's easy to export kind of stuff like that. So there is still the base function, but it really comes down to drawing. Now, I'm not familiar with TV Paint, but in Animate CC with the symbol library, you could get a lot of mileage out of something like that, where you could do like an eye blink just once and then kind of use it over and over again. I don't know if TV Paint has that functionality. But so there are the kind of basic things that they kind of kept to. Now, what I don't like about it is they kind of changed the undo system to be a little weird, where you're undoing stuff that's not drawing. Like if I watch this movie twice, that counts as an undo. They would go back to the front of the movie. They changed the editing, which when I called and asked about that, they didn't have an answer. So it has its pitfalls, but I totally recommend for like smaller projects, just individuals, the Flash, Animate CC, the whole thing. I totally recommend it. That's a wicked awesome. I'm a professional library. I love video games so much. Making a game is on my bucket list. Yeah, no, it was always on ours too. If you go into exit73studios.com, you'll see a lot of our stuff is derived in the video game universe. So finally making something, and Cody and I tried before, but I don't know what made Blood stick per se, but it's something that I'm glad we've also passed a certain threshold where we have a demo now, so it's silly not to finish. Okay, that works good. No, I would totally recommend it. It just, a lot of my, it's not work ethic or whatever I would call it, is just starting something. It sounds cliche and stupid, but if you just start it and just work a little bit every day, you'll look back in a year and be like, holy smokes, look what I finished in a year. Sheer determination, says Cody. Mm-hmm. We might have a treat for you next week where you get to see Cody in person. Then I'm gonna let the insults fly. It's gonna just echo off the walls. No, but I just write, like, whether it be a film or just any task. I feel like jogging. You can do it with exercise. It just, it's getting out of your bed when you don't want to, and just starting something. And we start stuff like with reckless abandon. Bob, how long did it take me to design this snowman? Nothing, right? I think I did a sketch and just did a snowman and next. Yeah. So it just sort of starting, and then I find it's just follow through, and then from there you'll look back in a year. Like, I don't know, is Lion Flex on? No. He heard I was bashing him last week. Learned to be a little kinder. But he, by himself, a pixelated game, he is a finished, and I mean a real game, like 20 levels game he made. So, and that just started as an idea in his head, then it just followed through from there. Now if you could finish, that would be nice. Do you guys keep sketchbooks or is it entirely digital? I draw with my kids, but I don't have a sketchbook. We live very close. We're right down the street and stuff, so we don't have a commute. Well, we do, but we can't draw while we drive. So, and most of the stuff is just dedicated to either client work or what we're working on, so we don't really have a sketchbook per se. TV Paint is raster based, but it's butter smooth. They don't have symbols, but you can take frames in the layers and set it to loop or ping pong loop. I'm also planning on making a mini game. So far, I'm learning Python and exclusive first. I'll try to something simple. But seeing guys making really smooth animation with Flash makes me rethink the switching programs. I can get it. No, I hear that, and it's not really Flash or anything that makes something. It's just a different interface, like you said. So if you're comfortable with it and you're well seasoned in it, then it's just working in a program you're comfortable with. I don't have, I only use Flash because that's what I know. It's not, I don't have stock in Adobe or anything like that. So it's just whatever you're familiar with. A lot of, we get approached, not a lot, I guess, but with certain producers that are always asking us to work in different programs. Now, I don't, when you work with a bigger company, you have to get all your employees on board, so I totally understand that. But when we're handing in what essentially is a ProRes QuickTime, I don't understand the hang-up they have with what program we're using. But, that's there for us to bear. He only has stock in White Claw. I'm trying to get... White Claw makes my drawings look better. when I'm drinking them. Desperately, I really want White Claw to just Chris at exit73studios.com or at Gmail. What is no? I don't do.
Okay. Don't do tech with Chris.
Don't do tech with Chris. That's what this should be called. So those who were watching me do this since I didn't know how long this hit was going to be, I did the first frame, not the last frame, for the branches here. So they go up, and why that's important is because we have the follow through with the leaf right here. So this will be the last frame before he takes the dive into that. So what I'm going to do first is sketch out the branch here. Now, a lot of our stuff is pretty rubbery, so even the branches have a little bend, but I try to keep them a little more stiff than I would say on kind of a pliable organic object. So what happens here? The leaf starts here, it goes up, so it's following this path, and it ends up here. So we're going to sort of do a loop with it. So it'll go down like that. So we're going to have this kind of loopy motion. It'll start there. So you always want to kind of bear in mind that when you're animating something straight ahead like this. All right, let's clean that up. So it goes down, and just sort of the line of action. Leaves and hair always are nice because it's just, all it is line of action. It's just animation in its purest form. In terms of, and that's why, you know, when you tween hair and Flash, it never look to me, it never looks right. Because there's just no arc to it. It's just very. That was always my pet peeve. My first job in animation. Well, I had first job out of school. I had a few jobs before that in animation. That Venture Brothers. I was on the pilot of that while I was in school. But my first one was Shorties Watching Shorties, which was a Comedy Central show, which you take the narration of comedians and tell the story that they're telling in cartoon form. And it was a puppeting show. Mucha Lucha had just come out, and Flash was all the rage. And it always sort of irked me when we had, let's see, how does this go here? It'll go like that. When we had the hair kind of not move right, and it was always sort of a telltale sign. I was just learning Flash then, though. I was so excited that, you know, it was this puppeting-based system. Yeah, I was like, what do you mean you just had to draw this once? I was coming off a thesis where everything was on paper, and it was just so it was a really, so you see kind of the arc of the leaf. It was a really exciting time. I know Flash gets a bad name now, but it was just sort of opened the doors for all these small studios to, you know, there's 5 of us working on Shorties Watching Shorties. Are you using the brush or the paintbrush tool when creating clean lines for your animation?
Oh, they don't have.
Oh, this is Flash MX, so that's.
But it would be the equivalent of just the brush.
Just the brush tool. What's the other tool?
The paintbrush, I don't even get it in Animate CC, but it's kind of like, it's basically the line tool kind of, or the pencil.
You know, I can open up Animate and show you how I would do this in CC Animate. Maybe I'll dedicate some time in the future to show you just the differences we find, and you know, it's easy to fall into patterns and be stubborn when you've been doing this for so long. And I've been trying really hard, especially the last couple of years, where it's just like, you know, if we have to, it's like we have to start learning these new programs, else we're just going to be the dinosaurs that are complaining, and we all know those people, and I don't want to be one of them. So we'll show you how we would do some of this in CC, because that's probably more practical for some of the people using CC. So that's settle there. Now we're going to stagger that, which kind of defeats the purpose of the leaf, but for this case we want it to look like shattering a little bit. So I'm going to color this. And what do you think, Bob? Should I color, like, should I, like, the whole snowman gets hurt, or is it just the villain you think that should get hurt?
When
he gets hit, like, I could do this yellow for the whole.
I don't know.
Well, we'll do it. I'll turn off the debris too. Yeah, we'll keep it.
No, that looks good. It's just him.
Yeah, that's kind of cute, right?
Because he kind of was like, oh, that's what's inside.
Yeah, no, that's probably good. Because it's not the snow you're really hitting. See if that looks right, staggering. I like it. Alright, now debris gets a different treatment. Now what I'm going to do, actually, since this guy's up here and he comes out of the kind of the skull, I'm going to raise this debris. I'm going to make sure it's not too high. She's right there and swipes up. No, that'll be perfect. Okay. And since I like silhouettes, I'm going to break apart this group that I set up to. Any tips for freelancing and starting your own animation studio? All right. We get that question a little bit, or quite often actually. Freelance animation is what I really want to do, but ironically I have no idea how to go about it. Well, if you're going to do freelance, and if you're just going to be an animator, like someone's going to hand you the design, in other words, you're going to want a Cintiq, if you have one of those. The program you like to animate in, and
or whatever they tell you to.
Or whatever they tell you to animate in, which that's just a new trend, and a good contact list. Most freelance we did, even before we had a studio, was at night. Like we would do our day jobs, and then we'd work at night for the other things. So you're gonna want your own setup. And then it's sort of.
But I think
freelance.
The biggest thing for us was we worked at studios in the city for a while, so we got those contacts.
And Nanavi TV, where are you located? Are you in this New York City? Are you West Coast? Are you United States? Where are you at?
Vancouver.
Oh, Vancouver. So, Canada has a booming animation scene now. Like, we've worked with Canada a lot when I was at the other studio I was working on. Streamers. But I work at Titmouse. Oh. They don't have any freelance for you? That was my retirement plan, was hopefully they buy me. Yeah. God, Titmouse is everywhere. Yeah, we're huge up here. No, so what you want to do, and I imagine there's a lot of senior people at Titmouse, even the Vancouver branch. I would, casually bring up to some of them that you're looking for freelance. If you have any side gigs, then you're happy to help out. And they prefer to have animations. Yeah, no, they always do that. But if there's any side work to be done like that, I would totally bring that up to the senior staff. And not in a way that's sort of confrontational or anything, but just sort of bring it up. It's like, oh, I'm looking to get some extra cash, or I'm happy to, take a little pay cut if you're looking for a new freelance guy. I'm hungry to learn and all that kind of stuff, and just get your foot in the door that way, and then build up your contact sheet from there. And it always helps to have your own portfolio site. Your own website, Instagram helps with just showcasing all that stuff, and just show, because I imagine you're working on some big projects, show some of your personal work, show the ability to have adapt to different styles and all that stuff. And then the thing with animation is it's sort of a snowball effect, where you'll get one freelance job, it'll lead to other freelance jobs and all that stuff, and it's very cyclical in that way. So, yeah, I would kind of follow up with, say, the director or the lead animator there, and see if they have any side projects, because a lot of times animation has to be supplemental since it's so much work and so little pay. And opening up your own studio, that's a tough one, because you really need a client list to start off running, or you're going to find yourself looking for business loans and all that stuff. And I would never want to, we never took out a business loan. I wouldn't want to do that, because I feel like that's already starting in the red, And when we first started, we were doing freelance on the side as well. Like, it wasn't just our own work. So, but as time goes on, you build up a relationship with your clients. Nothing lasts forever, so you can't rely on just one big client and all that stuff. But I find it's such a small kind of industry that when you get a good client, and even if they move on, they'll kind of tag you along, because producers are looking for the easiest path for them to get something done. So if you're fast and efficient,
that was really. I got dragged along to.
Yeah, no, Bob is one of the fastest animators I've ever met, and I've always remember him talking when we used to be roommates, Bob and myself, and the Future Band. Look, I'm just doing this with one hand. Getting good. Either the White Claw is working, doing its job, or I'm getting real good. I think it's column A. What was I saying?
If you
Bob was fast.
If you get in good with the people that you're working with, they're. I was always kind of dragged to the next job.
Yeah.
With them when something came along.
Animation's very roguelike, where you're never in one place for a while, and jobs, last a season if you're lucky, and then you kind of move on. So I won't stagger that, but you know what I might do? Yeah, we might get into that later. It really is reputation, and not who you know, but just your willingness to work hard too. And that probably sounds cliche and like a TV high school football coach, but that's sort of really has worked for us. You can see here, debris is fun because I can multiply this and do more if I need to. Like, I could take a section of this. And I always dissipate the debris, because I don't want to, especially with video games, you don't want like extraneous stuff sort of sticking around. You want almost every time something's destroyed. I'm gonna just change the color here so I know what I'm in betweening. Every time something's destroyed, you want it gone, because you don't want it sticking around or it'll pop and look wrong. And the debris just sort of dissipates like that. And we can even extend this to be a lot slower, because this doesn't have to follow the stagger chart. Alright, there we go. Now let's see if we like this timing even. I feel like it's too fast. Like, if we extend this, and since the debris is on another level, we can just say, yeah, you see that feels kind of bigger and more playful. I'm gonna sort of keep that timing in mind when I do it. Now I'll follow the same exact chart, so whatever happens here happens elsewhere. And debris always ease out, which is just 100 for those flash people. And what's up top here? And this is just the snow. And what I might even do is add a little debris in front of him. But that's for a different time. Yeah, Bob used to work for all the... it was funny, we studied at the same school, had the same teachers pretty much, kind of followed similar paths. I was a little older, so I was a little ahead of him. But he took sort of the preschool animations. I was working with Audiobook Studios, which was more of the adult-oriented stuff. So we sort of, when we combined, we had all these nice contacts from kind of both sides of the industry, so that always helped too. And it's funny, some of our clients, it was just a friend that I texted. And he's like, yeah, if you need work, I got it, stuff like that. And other times, it's just, I sat next to a guy, like when I aforementioned it in SVA. So,
and then it slowly turned into more...
No, people like, oh, you work for Exit 73, that's nice. Now, what we never really reveal is that we're a small studio, because for some reason that scares people, and they think, when you hear it's small, it means they can't take the big stuff and all that stuff. So we kind of keep all that a little quiet. Did I lose something here? I feel like, yeah, this was the one. I was wondering why that was. White Claw strikes again. Okay, so this shoots up. That's what I wanted. So I'm just going right ahead, burn style, and not worry about the rust, because this is just secondary kind of stuff. So the force is up here, which means everything gets thinner. Volume's always very important. And we'll stagger this one. Now, we've worked on some bigger things before we started the studio. And New York was interesting because it had this giant boom, and then all of a sudden it kind of stopped for a while, and everything's ebb and flow in the industry anyway. So right now it's a little bit of an ebb, and but the internet sort of opened things up too for us, where a lot of our stuff is just going exclusively to Instagram for giant companies. Our Instagram doesn't make us a dime. We just like having fun with it. Let's see here. So I'm in betweening all these ones just to stagger. When I move forth from here, I'll just kind of lay out and rough out some stuff, because I find you guys watching me in between is probably not even that exciting. And I want to keep this kind of playful and fun. It's Friday. We're trying to have some fun here. The minutia part of animation doesn't need to be broadcast. Let's see. Boop, 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 boop. All right. So I'm going to leave the debris not in between right now. I'll show you guys next week when it's all finished. Going to do the stagger again. Just swapping out the two frames. And we got ourselves, I'll color the debris, but a little hit. Bam. Now, if this was just something for pure animation purposes, I would keep them in the air a lot longer. But since we kind of have to be wary of what's happening in the game and the player's experience, some people just want to play a game. They're not here to admire the animation. In fact, I would wager most of them are here just to play a fun game. So you're battling these things, and you don't necessarily want to wait for him to fall to kill him once you learn how all that works. So that's why we're going to try to get him to this part as quick as we can in the vulnerable state. And I'm sure Andrew and Cody, when they get to it, even if you throw the pencil while he's in the air, we'll just cut to the kill animation just for practicality's sakes. But if this was something that I just wanted to make it look cool, he would be in the air for a lot longer. I'd add a lot more kind of expression and stuff, but we're trying to make it the experience. So that's just a settle. We've seen me do settles before. No fun. So let's get to the part where we're going to make him vulnerable, and we'll make that a cycle now. I'm going to put the debris on a top layer here. Put that down here so I can make this a symbol. Get rid of that layer. Okay, so he lands, settles. Now this will be the sprite that Cody or Andrew will take and do their coding magic to make it look like he's ready to get hit. So I'm going to F8. I'm going to call this Snowpire, or Clan Vampire. How did we come up with that? We'll call it Vulnerable. Separate the layers. I'm going to do the exact same chart as this. Just we're established sort of this 1 second kind of delay with everything that we're going to do. Bring that chart in here. I know this is the extreme. This is the hit. Or this is the other extreme. Gonna copy those frames over here. Now what I'm gonna do is just sort of a rubber hose ease in, ease out. And I'll just do the 4 frames that I did in the other idle. When it's fully finished, it'll be all on 2s and 1s. Since it's an extreme, you'll spend a little more time roughing it out. The eye I want to keep big because this is sort of the vulnerable target that we established in the game. So if anything, it'll just change a little bit of volume, but still remain a big target. We'll even lower it. Again, we're concentrating on volume. The lips and chin could do that. And we'll stick the ears out a little bit longer. So he's almost like, he's not just moving down, but he's sort of moving towards us too. That's why the ears change it a little bit. Now rough it out. Snowball gets bigger too. And I'll do this in layers as well, since we're changing the color of certain things. The outside line being the color, you know, that's another reason I'm doing it in layers, just so I don't have to select the line and change the color. So we've got this kind of timing established. Now at any point, Becky throws the pencil and it hits this guy. We'll do a kill animation that we'll do, again, settle in extreme and make it really look violent and all that fun stuff that won't be in this sprite per se. Alright, so I'm going to do it layer by layer just because the snow shape. So let's see, that's the head layer. I'll block off all that stuff. We'll just focus on the head for now. So we'll turn off everything almost. Change the color. There we go. A big thick brush again. And here we go. All right. Straighten that off a little bit better. The chin widens. His mouth really stretches. The ears get bigger. Because we're moving in perspective a little bit. Okay, so I finished that rough, or that cleanup. Now I'm going to just grab the rough, since I did the whole thing on one layer, just to a different one, so I could focus on the head. Now he's going, so it's going to be, this is going to be the chart. So frame 7 will be the exact in between, and then ease in, ease out from that way. So meaning he's going to move slow into the middle, then quick out of it. Now, since everything's sort of loose and organic, I will do some drag on the ears, even though that might not happen in real life per se, but it does add a little bit to the organic nature of these characters. Change the volume. I'll probably favor up on this one, since he's going down and it's a little slower, so I'll favor that side. Favoring for all the animation people, they know what that means, but anyone just an onlooker, means you're gonna the line's gonna be closer to a certain side. So in this case, it'll be the top or the first frame. Up. There you go. Favor the side, so it's still a little bit closer to the original shape. Closer to the chin, closer to the mouth, and the drag, since his ears are going down, definitely going to favor that a lot. Favor that a lot. Now he's okay, so we got him down. Now we're going to favor the other side. So we'll rough that out real quick again. Now the ears will drag this way now, sort of like it went. So we got the two things here. These are the two extremes. We're going to favor one side, and then on the way back, we'll favor that side, sort of like that arc. So we'll go like that, bend those ears a little bit. Favor the down. So let's just see if that looks good. Yeah, so his ears fan out a little bit with a little bit of resistance. Both of it is the same exact chart over here. Okay, let's clean that up. All right. After this little cycle I lay out, I'm going to show you what we're going to check out next week. And I'll show you some of Bob's backgrounds because they're really fascinating. Bob, any background you want to show off in particular, or no? Any of them? I kind of like what you're doing with the room. Oh, I'm sorry. I haven't been. I checked out the school you said you went to, and I got more info. I'll be sending it. Oh, so you're Joe Whimsy. Are you still in high school still, or have you? You're still thinking about going to art school? I'm sorry, I haven't been paying attention to any of this. It would refer to attend when the. When it comes to freelancing, is there a greater demand in games versus TV shows? I feel like there's not a. I don't know about games, to be honest. I can't really speak to you about the
2D games is really.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of traditionally animated games. Not to say that there isn't games that are doing that a lot more now, but I feel like a lot of it is sort of puppet based. So there might be a lot of that. It's the devil, we know. We've just been kind of ensconced in the. Ooh, we got a subscriber. Cheers. We're kind of made our way through animation in general. Now, video games being in the forefront now, that's liable to change. So I'm just hesitant to answer that question, which one is a little more viable for freelancing. But I saw on Twitter a few times the people looking for freelancers for games. So, and it's always someone you can. It's always something you can look up for sure. So that's that one. So now I'm going to clean up every layer. Yeah, I find a lot of traditionally animated games are made by really small studios, indie companies. No, I went to Cap U in Vancouver on scholarship from Jamaica, but seemed to get to be there. No. I play a few others. Well, I mean, I'll tell you this about SVA. Every person I work with started at SVA. And now that doesn't mean that there's more people that graduate SVA with more jobs. It just so happened that we built a relationship in school. So I know the creator of OKKO, Steven Universe, and a handful of other people I know are in California now doing stuff. But they were all SVA graduates. And I know the vernacular now is Cal Arts style and stuff, but I tell you, I think a lot of it started at SVA. So, I mean, I would recommend the school. There's some good teachers and stuff. It is expensive, though. And I don't know if Vancouver gives you better discounts and stuff. It seems like Canada sort of has a better hold on reasonable education and stuff. But for Canada, yeah, I prefer Canada. I don't blame you. All right. Oh, I lost the rough. That's okay. We're doing it live. I believe I had the leave like that. Now you see, if I was to try to undo all that, I would lose some of the drawings and stuff. So, and if I try to do the undos in animate, well, that's a whole nother Twitch, baby. All right. So now we're just going to do the extremes, and I'm going to show you some fun stuff we're going to work on next week and show you. Now remember the wave pattern. So we're going sort of like that motion for the leaf. So we're going to go out, almost out, and then now a traditional in between would go that way. But since we're kind of doing a circular motion there, we can favor that side. Now the leaf goes down, the trajectory of it would go that way. So we're almost going to go like that, because we're bringing the force back up, so it's going to spin around. I'll show you what I mean in a second when we press play. SVA is cartooning and animation. Yep, it has both. I can only speak to the animation part, though. But actually, Cody went there, too. Oh, so we can get rid of that. Cody the Future Man went there. So we're going to do that. Hasn't been able to find any studies in any school in art of cartooning until now. Yeah, I think animation sort of blew up. There seems to be a lot more interest in just animation, so the schools will cater to that, obviously, because I'm not sure about cartooning, though. That seems like a really hard field to crack. Alright, so color that. Now I'm just going to do the same thing with the snow and the snowball he's in, favoring either side. Wonder if that cartooning. Yeah, we had a roommate that went into cartooning. Cody and I mean, we're talking 2002, something that early. He seemed to have a lot of trouble sort of cracking into the field, and I think by its very nature, it's a hard one to make a living out of. I imagine it follows some of the pitfalls of animation and all that stuff. I just think animation there, since there's so much more labor that goes into it, by default there would be more work, especially since, you know, you could be a junior animator, you could be a cleanup artist, a prop designer, all that stuff, where cartoonists sort of, you're just out on your own doing your thing. So career-wise, I'm guessing animation is a little more viable. That's just me speculating, though. All right, then 2 more colors. And the next thing I show you, I don't even think Cody's seen. We're leaving him in the dark, too. But he still has to put in the cars and the birds and everything else we animated, and I don't know what he's been doing.
He's been putting some sound in.
Oh, he's got some sound in. All right.
Maybe.
And next week he's not going to be doing Jack, since he'll be here with us.
Oh yeah. So we're gonna be at.
Oh yeah, should we advertise
New York
that?
City.
Is Andrew online?
Does that mean New York City people in here? I'll post it in the.
Yeah, Bob's going to post something. If you guys are in New York City next weekend, we'll be there, showcasing Blood, and you can actually play some of this stuff. It's about a 20 to 30 minute demo. I find it, I think it has a lot of charm. So, but it'd be nice to see some of you guys in people. We could talk shop. I'll buy you a White Claw. No, it'll be fun. It should be a good time. So this is the Snowpire Vulnerable. So we got the same chart as we do with everything else. So we'll go to that, vulnerable. Now we can extend this as far as we want. Say we want them vulnerable for 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. We can extend that now. We can separate the animation, do all the stuff that programmers do. Yeah, that's good, kind of good timing. Now, again, it's about playability and what's best for the player, too. So what looks good in animation doesn't necessarily indicate that that'll be good for... Ooh, I grabbed... Where's that one? Got rid of something. Yep. Where is that? There we go. It's this one, I believe. The highest one. There we go. We're back on track, baby. Alright. So, the rest of this stuff I'll get into a little bit. So, but I want to show you some of the stuff that Bob's been doing and the cutaway scenes that are a different beast. So what I'll do is antic up, since, you know, every movement needs an equal counter movement. So he shoots up, he's not vulnerable anymore. He sinks right back down real quick, and then we cut back to that. So we're going to pop into that. So it'll be an ease out for that one. And how do you plan out timing in your mind? Because most of this straight ahead animation, right? Looks great. Oh! Who's calling? Norwich, Connecticut.
Call from Norwich.
You want to answer? Let Bob answer this. It could be our break. This could be our big break. Hello, Hollywood.
Hello, this is X73.
Price of doing it live. How do you plan out the timing? I kind of just rough it out in my mind.
It's only our local Google.
Oh, it's our local Google. That's nice.
From Connecticut this time, not LA.
The hand for Google, everyone. Can't figure it out. The timing in your mind. Well, the beauty of Flash is I can adjust this at any time. I keep the timing in mind that I know I want to hit on second beats, like 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, or anything derivative of that. That's just a rubber hose kind of cycleage. Antics, you know, is usually half a beat. Oh, you're from Norwich? Was it you that called? Could you fix our website? Then the rest is sort of just fidgeting around with the timing and stuff. But what's nice about cycles is you can speed them up, slow them down, do anything you need to get in and out of them too. So it's sort of just a trial and error thing. But I do keep in mind that I want everything on the same sort of cycle. We got this guy down here. You see, he's following the same exact pattern as the ease in, ease out that we were talking about earlier. Same with him. And you could bring in almost any cycle that we did, line them up, and they'll all be bouncing up and down at the same rate. So that's very important to us because we sort of want everything basically in the same chart. Though things get a little dicey when you shoot on 2s and 1s, which is understandable. So I'll get into this, but I want to show you some of the things that we could be doing next week. Or should we do the backgrounds first? What do you think?
I'll show some stuff.
The background?
Next week stuff.
The next week stuff. Okay, so next week I'm going to show you, I'll recap all this. I'm going into the vampire kill cutaway. So we're going into cut, we're going to cut in certain sections of the game where it's just traditional animation. It's not playable. You can skip it if you want, but please don't. I'm spending a lot of time on this. And so we're going to go a more traditional way, which is probably more indicative of other animation twitches. So this is a little bit of a layout, a little bit of a rough, little bit of something you'll see. The aforementioned janitor in this is revealed to be this kind of guru that is going to be Becky's mentor eventually. So Becky gets in a little bit of trouble with one of these shadow vampires, and I'll show you. Shampires. So you can see the roughs here. How about I do it bigger than a postage stamp? Is that good for everyone? So we don't even have the backgrounds in yet, but we kind of got the lay of the land here. So she finds these will be like 15-second intervals. Is that Cody telling me not to give away any of the story?
Yeah, well, I guess 12 people know.
It's not the janitor. So anyway, so you can see here, these take on a whole different form.
We're just, right now we're still doing 1920 by 1080, right?
Oh yeah, this is, we do 960 by 540, but we export at 144 PNG, so it doubles that. It's HD, in other words, for that.
Which is easier to...
It's just easier to animate with the brush tool that way. So you can see we got some fun stuff here, and this is just rough timing right now. But we like to play with some of the text. Uh-oh, who's emailing me? You try to take off half a day in this business. So this mystery character comes in, and we're going to learn from this part what because up until this part you don't know how to fight the vampires, so you're kind of going to learn through this little tutorial what hurts them and what you can do from there. It looks great. These are the fun parts for me. It really lets me kind of stretch out my animation standards and stuff, because the other stuff's very, very cycle based and all that kind of stuff, so there's a lot of math and kind of planning it goes involved. This is just like, what makes this drawing look good? I'm framing this out in a way where I don't have to worry about the bottom of the vampire. This is all going to be 3 shots, so from here to there we're going to zoom in, I'll animate the zoom in, and then from there to there I'm going to animate the zoom out, and playing with perspective here. Get to change the color of the vampire when he gets hurt. All that kind of stuff. And I'll show you...
and then Bob gets to figure out what's going on.
Then Bob has to figure out the backgrounds. Which I file under... I think I have a...
Who gives a shit?
I have a folder called It's Not My Problem. Let's see, do we have... I showed you the dream last week. But there's other... old trailer animation. Oh, that's the old stuff. Where is
I should have cinematics now or something.
Cinematics.
Or
Oh, there we go.
yeah.
Dream Cinematic? But do you have the one of Corey?
I don't know if that ever made it in.
Where
I don't
the
know how
heck
they
did I
ever
do
made
that?
one actually. That might still only be in the old animation. We should.
Is that even in? Is it just in blood?
No, it should be in old trailer animation. It's probably hallway.
Is it in hallway? Wait, in animation or character, or cinematics?
Animation.
I don't have a hallway one.
Are you in blood video again? Are you in
Yeah.
Go to
In-
animation. And go to old trailer.
Bingo. Is this one? Oh yeah, this is the old one, but we do have it in it. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, we should probably make that a quick.
I should really make it a quick time. Oh boy, that's not it. Oh, because we made these sprites. That's right. That's right.
I think Cody took those and made a sprite right from that.
Okay. So if I edit this. So. Let me view. Anti-alias. So this is an example of what we want to do where we could play with not just the sprite animation. So we got all that stuff. And I want to do a lot of these cutaways, or as much as Andrew lets me before getting the game unsizable. I think it adds a different layer to it. It's, you know, I want to, though Zelda's a giant influence on our stuff, we want to kind of divorce ourselves from that too. You know, so this is an experience. We're talking about a lot of little mini games in it where we're playing chess at certain points and all that stuff. We just want to make it this cartoon experience. It should feel like you're watching a cartoon by the end.
Or playing a cartoon.
Yeah, you're playing a cartoon. And you can see I set it up, it's in very similar fashion to, you see the phone's a symbol, to how I've been doing the sprites and all that stuff. That even kind of cycles, that's kind of cool. I had no idea.
I don't think we're going to go for mobile on that.
Yeah, we're shooting for kind of the consoles right now.
Probably Steam as well.
Am I allowed to?
I mean, that's what we're shooting for.
Yeah,
You
okay.
know.
Okay. Yeah, the
Mhm.
consoles.
Did we get a subscriber?
We got a subscriber. So yeah, this is what we're gonna shoot for, and I want to pepper the animation in, like for event stuff. You know, every time she does something in a classroom, we're not gonna animate it obviously, but for something that triggers an event, it would be nice to kind of break up the action with these kind of things and give the viewer a little look into something that could feel like a '90s cartoon. And so yeah, next week I'm gonna show you guys. We're gonna dive into this one, get this one ready for air, and I'll show you. This is this stab right here. I'll save that for next week. I'm going to show you what I do about how we're going to change. Let me open up the vampire animation. My good old trusty vampire. Sprite animation characters. Boy, shadow vamps. Oh, it's already open. How quaint. Where you see how he starts from red and black line, then he goes down to this. I'm going to show you an easy way to get to a color change without tweening. Though it does use tweening to show you how it does. So once these guys are vulnerable, they're kind of impenetrable while they're in this shadow form. We're going to show you how to get to from that to like him getting hurt and being in full color.
How many requests have we gotten to port to Switch? Switch is our
main. That's our, that's the mountain we're trying to climb.
But that is, we heard that a lot with.
So you have Magfest this year. I'm sorry. Yeah, but we are going for Switch. So you have Magfest this year. Love the aesthetic of blood. Do you guys have a tentative release date? No, we don't. It's always sort of in the back of our minds for 2020 release date. We got a playable demo now. We're polishing it up. it's very short. You know, we want about a 7-hour game. We want it to be exploratory. We're playing with a lot of stuff right now. I can only say, hopefully, 2020, the end of it would be really nice. And it's all contingent on the work we get that's paying us too, since we're doing this on the side. You know, I know Bob and I have a really busy summer lined up right now, so we're going to have to put this stuff on just the Twitches right now and all that good news. But yeah, we're really shooting for this to be a 2020 thing, but I can't really say. And knowing nothing about how much programming takes it in, I really don't want to put the programmers in a hard spot.
That was their original.
That was the original thing, though. I'm excited. We put what we have now together and the demo in 4 months, so that's promising to me because all the stuff. And again, I can't speak to the programming part of it, but it feels like now that we have sort of the practical stuff finished, like her movement, her attacks, and all that stuff. I feel like we just build on that now, and hopefully it gets a little exponential in terms of speed. But I really don't know. We have a really big story in mind, and I don't want to, you know, cut that down just to get it released either. And from what I hear, games take a while, so I'm okay with that. Yeah. So next week we're gonna dive into this one because you guys can only watch me ease in, ease out cycle so much. And then, you know, we'll try to spice it up each week. Let's get you into some backgrounds. Bob, do you want to take the seat? You guys want to watch Bob? He's more handsome than me, too, so eye candy.
Let's see. Okay, I'm going to close. Do you have everything saved?
Maybe not the sprite thing. I do think.
Alright, let's open up one of our backgrounds I've been working on. Let me actually save it on my other computer. Actually, maybe I'll show you guys the outside quick, how we were working on that. Let's see what we have here. This is actually just some trees. We're going very 90s Powerpuff Girls, Dexter's Lab. But we're trying to do everything that you can interact with. So even if you look at this tree, you can see that if you hit it with your fist, I added a little bit of leaf animation and a hit on the tree. So we kind of put that on everything. I also made a trash can hittable. Just shows you where. So let's see what else I have here. Outside elements. Schoolyard. So this is the outside schoolyard, where I've just kind of, it's all, which is great, is all symbol based. And we have, everything's kind of animated within here. I actually made the bus animated already, which is a very Powerpuff Girl looking bus.
Oh yeah, I love this background.
So, I kind of slowly build it out. Just, I mean, you can see it's only one, a few sections here, and then I leave it up to Cody, the future man, and Andrew to kind of flush out the rest of it. We're gonna have to really start figuring that out.
Are the trees textured? Yeah.
Yes. Oh, let me show you how I textured everything. Actually, it's kind of interesting. It's all in
Photoshop.
It's all in Flash.
Fascinating.
We were gonna do it in Photoshop, which we wanted to do originally, but then we were confused about what sizes we were gonna do, so we wanted to keep everything in Flash and vector based, so we could actually scale it up or scale it down without losing any quality. So I actually made a couple of paint strokes in Flash itself, and I kind of used an eraser tool. I kind of just used erase and paintbrush tool.
It's probably the same principle whoever makes the brushes.
Yeah, no, it's probably some of the same stuff.
Photoshop.
But it's really just, I mean, here's just a group of what I did, and it was really just, all I did was kind of make a couple of strokes. And then I just took my eraser tool and kind of give it a paintbrush kind of look like that. And I made a bunch of these that I kind of pasted in and out of the whole.
Yeah, then you can
in
change
and out
the
of
color.
trees.
You could make them symbols and change the color.
Yeah.
If you really wanted to play the sound, you could get really good. Did he show the animation inside?
Yeah, no, I showed that. And then, let's see what else we had. And so we had some, you know, and kind of go in and out of everything and animate it. These were actually some of the people from the bus that we got to reuse. So we're trying to, I reuse people sitting, so I've made a picnic blanket.
Oh, New Zealand.
Ah,
That's awesome.
yes.
What time is it in New Zealand? Very nice. Is the fountain animated?
The fountain
Oh,
is
yeah.
definitely on it.
Bob's been doing really awesome with these. I mean, everything feels alive when you play it. I really hope the guys in New York get to come see it because it's really fun.
Now we have to animate her throwing something in the fountain.
Slovenia. Will, it's Saturday? Give me the lotto numbers for New York Saturday. So creative. Thank you, everyone. No, this is. Yeah, we should have been doing
We
this.
animated the doors. So I have a bunch of different doors that we have opening and closing that you can go in and out of. And we kind of set it up for the programmers to be able to export. I've currently, let's show you some of the hallway stuff. Or if we go to the classroom.
Yeah, the classrooms are fun. I'm excited to bring. I want to get a chance to animate the characters in the classroom.
So we've added a lot of stuff into the classroom so you can actually interact with. We want to be able to walk around and interact with a lot of stuff. So I made every beaker has this little animation in it. So if you walk over and play with it, we just want to make everything, you know, interactive. So when you walk around, you're not disappointed when you can't play with something. So this is one of the projector type things we were talking about, the pull down maps. We animated that.
So cool.
And then again, I used the paint, that pretend paint stroke.
You guys make a list of all the animations that you guys like to do? Yes, we don't. We have a list in the back of our mind, but every character sort of has the same sort of list. We got walks, runs, attacks for the playable characters, dodge. The list for the vampire hunter Becky is crazy, and the rest of the characters are sort of scene based.
Mm-hmm.
What is the deadline for this project? Oh my gosh.
We said
we're shooting
2020, but
Yeah.
we're
You're expecting us to be much more organized. Yeah. Cody, so, if you know anything about us, we came up with this. This was an old pitch Bob and I made while we were working on another pilot we were starting. And
you can even bring that up probably.
oh yeah, you can show the old pitch.
YouTube, you can show.
So no, and then we decided we sat down with Cody. We knew we wanted to make a game. We made an artificial deadline in our mind. The first one was Cody now has 3 daughters, but his first daughter, before the set of twins showed up, we're like, let's have something to show before the first daughter shows up. We were a little late. Now here's 3, but we have something to show. So we really just kind of organically came up with this, and it was just the right time for all of us. The future maker, you also. Oh yeah.
Oh, he's the programmer.
He's the programmer. And Andrew Tavis is the other programmer. I don't know if he's on though.
Let's see if we have.
This is gonna play like.
Oh, we could just at least open
Oh, you
up
can
the
show the
pitch Bible.
Yeah.
So we made a pitch Bible that we were trying.
You can see how much the
pitch around.
designs changed too.
Yeah, you can see where we changed her a lot.
Yeah. We still always had that Samurai Jack-ish. I think we went more Powerpuff Girls now though. Yep. That's the dad. Oh, I made the dad lose more hair.
Yeah, well.
Oh, that's okay. That's
wider.
what time does.
And this is going to be the main bad guy
the
that
main bad dude
we're working on.
Yeah.
So. But in the background stuff, you can see here, I even tried to use a lot more of the paint textures, just kind of subtly, to give it a Photoshop look.
Yeah, we kind of like the style a little more now. It was fun to, when you think of video games traditionally, they don't necessarily feel cartoony. As growing up, like Bob, Cody, myself, Andrew, and all of us did that are part of it, we grew up during the 16-bit era. So everything had not a lot of cartoony quality because it was pixel art. So now with the advancements of technology and stuff, you can make anything interactive. So we decided to make a super cartoony thing. And we really have to give credit to people that did Cuphead and all the new kind of people coming up, realizing it's not just this Japanese-based genre that has to feel a certain way. We could change Becky's sprite right now to be any genre. We could go super 80s. We chose a cartoony motif because it's such a violent thing, and we wanted it sort of cute paired with darkness.
It's definitely, this is very Dexter's Lab that we're going. A lot of Powerpuff Girls too. I think
Dexter's Lab,
that time period where I think influenced us right before we got into school or we're just getting into college.
Well, I remember watching Dexter's Lab as a college student, and I there was a whole level of appreciation that they weren't catering just to kids, which was always nice, and I think a successful cartoon, you do that. I remember being really into The Simpsons and relating to Bart, and now if I watch it, I'm sure I relate more to Homer, though it's been 30 years since I watched it.
That's what I felt about Incredibles, was an amazing turn of events, and watching Incredibles 1 in college and then watching it as being a parent for Incredibles 2.
No, you really, there's no secret that parenthood changes you. Do you guys have a Twitter as well? We do. It's at Exit 73 Studios. Everything we do is sort of at Exit 73 Studios. You can check us out on Instagram. We're very active on Twitter and Facebook. We try to make... This is
for Cody to start getting ready to
wow.
because this is our whole new... We went into Becky's house. Actually, let's show outside of Becky's house first.
You might notice this one. There we go. See, Cody, you're already pulling your weight.
So we've made... we have cars that Cody didn't get in yet. We've got all kinds of stuff. Very, very Powerpuff looking, Dexter looking cars from the 90s.
You should show them the bus, too.
The bus, we showed them the bus.
But the inside of the bus.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So that's a lot. That's a lot.
And this was my the dog I got to animate.
Yeah, see, it's... Bob's our tech, and...
it's not in here, actually, is it?
There.
No, we don't have it in this one.
Bob, you just throw in front of a project, and whatever he needs doing, he'll do. It's awesome.
Let's open up the bus.
Big house, yeah. The dad did well.
It gets in, once you get inside, it grows. It always reminds me of those old cartoons where you would go inside the doghouse and then it was a mansion.
And it's nice, and you see, like, that, I assume that pencil's reused a bunch.
Yeah.
But, like, you see, like, by just doing little details like that, you can really, you just get a lot of mileage out of. It's not as much work as you think, though. It pays off in the end, in other words. You spend a lot of time building up this library, and then all of a sudden you don't have
trying to not make straight lines that can repeat was another thing we did, too, to help try to give it Two Stupid Dogs. That was a good, that was another one from that time period,
No, I wish cartoons would fall back on track, but...
Like, I would even go in and take the line tool, break it, and erase from it to try to make it look a little more painterly.
Now, this is something I don't know if you could do in Animate, because it's so layer heavy.
It would get, especially with all the masking.
Mm-hmm.
And then here is the newest stuff inside the house. So I set this up. So Cody, you might want to take a look at this because this is what you're gonna have to do.
This
soon.
is Cody's new. Yeah, I don't know.
So we set up bedrooms.
So after animating the assets, who does the coding program? That's the Future Man, and I don't know Andrew Tavis's
Twitch name,
but he's the other program. Animate has painterly brushes and our vector base too. I've heard of that actually.
We've used them, but they've really not been, like we've. It
yeah,
hasn't
no,
gone well
I've
for
just,
us.
The speed at which I draw, I don't like the delay.
So this will be the dad's room, and we kind of created all this different things that you can, hopefully you can interact with the computer and then go on top of that. We've got a bedroom for Becky.
That's cute, that's great.
Yeah, nothing's really animated in here yet, but we've been, kind of redoing. And then as you can see, one of these is one wall pattern.
Mm-hmm. So it's very sprite based in that case.
Yeah.
Looks so wonky in a great way. Yeah. Man, hadn't shown me any of this. Well, you haven't been online.
And then I've been working on a bathroom today is what I've been
Do you guys have any advice for someone who is interested in creating a game for the first time? What kind of game type would you recommend for a newbie to make? Programming wise, I really can't speak to that, but I on your own, if you're just trying to make a game for game's sake, I would assume simple is better. So that I can't speak to, but stylistically, whatever you're comfortable with drawing or animating is what I would pick to start off at least.
I got to do. Cody talked me through how to make a Flappy Bird one time.
Yeah, we made a Flappy Bird once.
And
with a bee.
that was fun at the end, but I don't remember any of it, so I guess I can't really. It really worked. I guess it's just what you like to do.
Take a simple game that you. Oh, that's.
Yeah.
Are you sending sprites in JPEGs or vector format? What is that?
I guess it's probably JPEG. It would have to ask Future Man, but we're putting it through Texture Packer, which is then making it into sprites, which then yeah. So I guess it would probably be PNG almost.
I personally coded Dr. Mario over 20 times. Really? I'm still learning stuff about Cody.
Yeah. Why I know.
Here I learned that he's a liar. The Future Man, do you have any examples? All right. So, to recap anything, the Buster Interior, where am I here? We're almost wrapping it up anyway. So, next week we can expect the cutaway animation. Well, I'll go into next week showing what happened with the hit for the Snowman monster. And again, thanks everyone for sharing all that and being part of this process with us. Part of what drives us is all the attention that the positive attention we've been getting with this. We're very new to this. It's just very humbling and flattering for people to be interested in something we're working on. We're such a small team. Snowpire. So next week, let's see, I'll finish this guy, I promise, even if I had to work at night or the weekend. We'll get that guy done. We'll add the debris. I'll finish this guy. And then we're going to get to the fun stuff. What I think is fun. Thanks for sharing. This is so neat. You never see this kind of thing happening. Oh, well, we appreciate that. We really do. Like I said, when we started this company, we didn't even think we'd be animating. So, we're getting to do something we studied, and it has its frustrations. And when the camera goes off, boy, do the curses just flow like just rivers of curses coming out. But no, it is nice to have this validation, knowing we're kind of making something and people actually enjoy it and have some feelings about it.
Thank you so much for sharing this.
Oh, well, this masterpiece. Well, you haven't played it yet. But we appreciate that. So what I'm going to do, hopefully, depending on my work schedule, I'm going to have this laid out a little more. I'm going to show you some tricks next week, which include shape tweening. which for the puppeting people, I'll show you how to get some mileage out of that. In betweening, color changes, perspective, animation, all the fun stuff that we're gonna get into for these cutaways, and you can expect a lot of these cutaways if Andrew lets us. And then I'll show you, yeah, this is gonna be an example of, I'm gonna show you like how I would use a line tool for something like this, and for these two last shots, and you can get, you won't see me draw so much, but you'll see what I do when, you know, we're just playing with shapes and timing and stuff. It's kind of fun, this flash stuff. So until then, if you guys want to share this or spread the word, please do. You can follow us on Everything in 73, Facebook, all that stuff. We're very active on all that stuff. And again, thanks for joining us. I know it's in the middle of the day. It's Saturday somewhere. Someone's watching this in the future. Yeah. So do all that spreading, and Joe, what's her name again? Joe.
Oh, Joe Whimsy.
Joe Whimsy. Hit me up on Facebook. I'll message you, and we'll get you a drawing because you've been so active on all this stuff. And anyone who else wants to do that and get involved, you know, I'll talk to you on Facebook. All that good stuff. All right. Well, until next week. Oh, and the Future Man next week. He might be here if the government gets an order and he can fly. I guess he can't fly now. And we'll talk then. Until then, thanks for everyone for enjoying all this, and we hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.